Hey guys, Brian here from Better Chess Training, and today I'm going to be doing sort of a little mini tutorial on the four chess improvement activities that you should be engaged in. Now, it's kind of general, and you'll see as we get into them. But I got this question while I was streaming yesterday, and I thought I'd make a little video of it. Now, some of this advice I've given before, but a little twist I'm going to put in today is that I'm going to talk about what it is and how to do it, but also when you need to include this more. I think at every player under master level should do some variation of all four of these, but what proportion will depend on you individually. And so I'll try to give you a little guidance on that. Okay, well, let's get started. The first core activity that we're going to be looking at is serious playing. It's important to actually play chess. I know a lot of you enjoy, well, if you want to improve at playing chess, I guess. And this is, I guess, aimed at anyone who wants to play competitively, whether that be online or over the board. If you want to get better at playing competitively, you need to engage in playing serious games. What does that mean? That usually means longer time controls so that you can think. You want to play on average against stronger competition, not just against stronger competition, but you want to play some people that are weaker than you, some people around the same level as you. But as much as possible, if you can endure it, you want to play people who are stronger than you. And then you want to have limited distractions. And there's a reason for this, and we'll get into that into the next activity. But you want to be engaging in this. You may need to do more of this if you feel rusty, like if you're just not used to playing, especially over the board. I've noticed this a lot. The transfer from online to over the board is can be quite difficult. Also, if you feel really anxious or nervous while you're playing, that can affect your decision making. Also, waste time, and also just doesn't feel great. Now, whenever you play competitively, when something is on the line, you will have some nerves. You might feel a little anxious, but the more you play, the more used to it you'll get. Okay, and you'll find that you can also use strategies to cope with that. So if you find that this is the case, then maybe you want to include that, increase the percentage of this that you're doing. Okay, the second core activity is game analysis. Now, I've made several videos on this, so you can check those out. But the number one goal here is to find where you can improve your play. So if you just play, but you never analyze, you'll find that you're making the same mistakes over and over again. Okay, you want to try to capture your thoughts. Maybe actually in one of my games, I was making this trade between two minor pieces and then a rook and a pawn. And even though materially it was even, uh, the the two minor pieces were actually superior to the rook, to the remaining rook. So it was actually, um, or to the extra rook, I guess you could say. So understanding that that was what I was thinking changed my thoughts for future games. And those are the types of thoughts that you want to capture and try to correct whenever you find those mistakes. And I always say this, don't use the engine right away. The engine cannot tell you why you made a certain mistake. Try to figure it out on your own. And that will, of course, give you practice analyzing because you don't have the engine with you when you are playing chess. But also, it'll give you insights. Your own thoughts and your own analysis will give you insights. And then, after you have thought about it and you think you sort of understand it, or maybe you don't have a clue at all, then maybe try to use the engine to help you out. So, I'm not advocating for zero engine use. I'm just saying try to figure things out for yourself first. Now, you need to do this more if you are making the same mistakes over and over again. And also, if you don't understand where you went wrong, if you're playing games and you find yourself losing more than you want to, then, but you're really not sure why, you need to analyze your games. So make sure you definitely want to do some of it, but do more of that if you are finding yourself making these types of errors over and over. Okay, the next core activity is tactics training. Now, this is obvious, everybody says this, but there are two main purposes: pattern recognition and calculation habits. What do I mean by that? That means um, certain things that you do when you are practicing your tactics, you should also be doing in your games. So it gives you a chance to do it over and over again. For example, things like looking for your opponent's best response. When you do that in your tactics training, eventually you will do it in your games also. Looking for tactical opportunities. So those would be things like loose pieces, or pawn structure, targets, unsafe king. When you see those things in your tactics, if you are focusing, eventually it will transfer over into your play as well. So I actually learned this from a martial artist who always that I used to work with that always trained very deliberately, always had hard workouts because he said you want to practice the way you're going to use it. So if you're too relaxed, using martial arts, if you are casual, if you're not paying attention, if you're chit chatting, well, when it comes time to use your skills, well, that's the way you're going to want to use your skills too. So practice the way you're going to play, and there's different ways to do this, by the way. You could do the woodpecker method. You could just do a set number or a set amount of time every day. But you may need to do more or think about this more if you find that you're blundering a lot. Now, everyone blunders, but if you're finding that you're losing a ton of games because of tactical oversights, you might need to do more of this type of training. Okay? And the other way to tell that you need to do more tactics training is if you know that as soon as you make a blunder in a game and you said, "Oh, I know what I should have done," you need to practice those tactics so that it becomes more automatic to think that way. And that's why when you do your tactics training, don't do it. Well, you can do simple tactics while you're like waiting in line at the store, but I would suggest if you're doing it at your computer or doing it from a book, have a nice quiet place where you are playing under, say, game conditions. So you want to practice the type of environment. No, limit your distractions uh, so that you can think properly. Okay. And the final core activity is studying the masters. Now, I'm not just saying full master games, although that's a great way to do it. I'm also saying things like books about tactics, books about strategy, books about end games, where the masters explain what they're doing. So this is giving you new ideas, whether it be in the end game or in the opening. I also can give you inspiration. I studied the games of Bobby Fischer, and it really makes me feel like I want to play like this guy in terms of the clarity of his moves and the strength of his moves. Okay. Also, you can use this to target your weaknesses. So let's say you are strong or you're weak in the middle game. Well, you could study the middle games of the masters either through a book about the middle game, or you could pick a master who is very good at planning, like Karpov or Capablanca or Botvinnik. Study their games. Study why. Try to understand why they're doing what they're doing. And the final reason you want to do this is to develop your chess vocabulary. Understanding, if you want to say open files or understanding outpost and being able to converse with other players as well as if you have a coach, being able to have that conversation. Um, you need to develop that by studying these great books and great courses by the masters, or even when you're watching videos by the masters and they talk about concepts. Those concepts in your mind will help you to bring them up when it comes to your games. Okay, and when should you do more of this? You should do more of this if you don't understand the positions and structures you play. I was playing a master a couple of years ago in Rochester, New York, and we got into a position with hanging pawns, and that's where I had pawns on the C and D file, and my opponent didn't have pawns there. And I struggled, and eventually he beat me. And afterwards, he talked to me about, well, in these hanging pawn structures, you want to, it's hard to defend them without your minor pieces. And in the game, I actually traded off the minor pieces because I misunderstood that. Now, had I studied the same types of structures and games that my opponents studied, I would understand that, and I would have made different decisions during the game. Okay. And then number two, if you don't know a lot of chess, so you can get very good at just playing and studying your games. Yes, you can get very good, but sometimes there's a lack of, and again, I'm speaking from someone who has to do this more myself, a lack of refinement, a lack of just kind of knowing is the word, or understanding. When you see a position, you when you really understand it, the moves kind of pop out. Now you need to evaluate whether those ideas that pop out, which one of those are the best. But um, you need to study these games of the masters, these positions of the masters, and indeed their teachings. Again, whether it be online, on YouTube, like Daniel King or these masters, or from some of the many great books that have been played where the masters explain their moves or the moves of other masters. So that would be the fourth key idea. I hope you found this helpful. The reason I wanted to include sort of the how is because people ask me, well, what percentage should I be playing versus studying the masters or doing tactics? And it really is an individual choice. If you're very poor at tactics, you have to have a bigger percentage of tactics. If you are bad strategically, you got to study more of the master games and more of the positions of the masters. If you're afraid of playing or you get really nervous and you blunder not because you didn't know what you were supposed to do, but because you were so nervous and distracted that you couldn't play, then you need to learn to play more, or you need to play more and practice being in those situations more often. That's a quick summary of what I was trying to get across. But hopefully that was helpful. But I appreciate you guys watching. Check out my e-newsletter every week or two. I give out some chess advice or maybe share an interesting position. Also, I want to thank Team Backrankbrawler, my supporters on Patreon. And if you want to consider being a supporter, you can check out the link in the description below. Otherwise, have a great day and good luck with your chess.